Welcome to the Awakened Goddess Show, your source for inspiration, wisdom, and personal discovery. The place to learn from a diverse mix of mentors, metaphysical experts, spiritual leaders, and best-selling authors from around the world. I'm Angela Wilkinson, mindset mentor and founder of the Awakened Goddess Academy. Join me as I explore the minds of my masterful guests while they share powerful insights and easy-to-use tools you can start using right away. Now, let's tap into the energy of the Awakened Goddess and be enlightened by today's guest. Hey, I'm your host, Angela Wilkinson, and welcome to this episode of the Awakened Goddess Show. Elena Lipson is a divine brand and self-care mentor who guides conscious entrepreneurs to create their dream business and life by taking care of their most important asset, themselves. Through divine self-care rituals, tapping into their soul signature brand style, and creating an authentic communication strategy, Elena's passion is to inspire entrepreneurs to embody their authentic vision so they can create consistent income, bliss, and inspiration in life, business, and the bedroom. But before I talk with Elena, I want to tell you about Spirit Mist, Smokeless Smudge. I found myself getting more and more sensitive to picking up other people's feelings, or, when you walk into a room and everything just feels off. You can't quite put your finger on it, but it just doesn't feel good. It starts to weigh you down. The next thing you know, you're feeling sad, confused, and just plain pissy. Maybe that's just me, but what I've done for years is to smudge myself and my environment. Smudging is an ancient practice of burning sacred plants to remove negative energy, but it's not always practical to burn sage, cedar, or incense everywhere you go. But now you can with Spirit Mist. Spirit Mist Smokeless Smudge is an all-natural mist that comes in a convenient spray bottle, allowing you to mist your personal and business space to remove negative energy and bring in a positive flow of energy. Rhonda Lee, the creator of Spirit Mist and a Reiki master, personally charges each bottle to a high vibration, giving you a dose of good vibes with each spray. I use mine whenever I feel stressed, drained, or out of sync. So head on over to bit.ly/Spirit Mist to get your Spirit Mist Smokeless Smudge now. That's bit.ly/Spirit Mist, all one word. Or click the link at the bottom of today's show page at theawakenedgoddess.com. And now let's talk to Elena. Well, welcome, Elena, to the Awakened Goddess Show. I am absolutely thrilled beyond pieces to be talking to you today because this has been an incredible week for me, and I know we're getting around the holidays, and you being the divine self-care mentor, I'm really excited to hear your wisdom. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to share. I think there's so many women who tend to go into this crazy mode, and it doesn't have to be so. So excited to share.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're going to start with the basics.
Okay.
And I know that we have heard this before, but I swear, we all need to hear it again and again and again. Why is self-care so important?
And I love talking about it again and again and again. Well, no, seriously, I think that's what I've come to realize most on this journey is the things that are most important do need to get repeated. We do need to hear it because we're not always ready to hear it. The same thing you heard 10 times on the 11th time is the magic one. So I'm happy to repeat myself, which I do all the time. Mm-hmm. But why it's important is, we don't do well when we're in lack and depleted and exhausted. We don't make good decisions. We aren't present. We aren't being the women we want to be. We aren't being the mothers, the partners, the friends we want to be when we're from that place. We're irritated and annoyed and resentful. And we've all been there. And we go there, and it's totally opposite from, when you come back from vacation and you've had good rest and you're just all glowing, and then you're just so generous and open and mindful and, intuitive and all of those good things that you want to be. And I say, we don't have to wait until a week-long vacation. In fact, I just had a client the other week tell me, she's in my year-long journey, and she came in one Saturday morning and she said, I just spent 4 hours. I took a bath. I did some yoga. I put on music. I just laid there and listened to it. And she said, I swear, Elena, after 4 hours, I feel like I've been gone for a week and I'm so lit up and inspired and I'm tingly. Like, that's it. That's it. I mean, that's 4 hours equals a week. How about 20 minutes? You know, you can feel like you slept a whole night. So that's why we need it, because we want to be present for the best possible life that we want to have. We want to feel confident. We want to feel like we're making conscious, mindful choices. I can go on, and I do. Yeah. But that's really the answer, is we want to be our best version of ourselves. And if we feel unnourished, depleted, exhausted, you know, put upon, requested of our time too much, we're just not showing up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as you were talking, I was just thinking about, because I work with women about attracting their soulmate, and I think about relationships and how over time the honeymoon period kind of subsides. And this speaks a lot to that, how in a lot of relationships, you know, that passion and excitement kind of go away. And it's because we're not taking care of ourselves. And so I love how you were talking about that, how that reminder that really taking care of ourselves helps us stay in touch with that magical excitement and those, like that honeymoon period.
It really does. And I've been with my guy for 16 years now. And yeah, for sure. It definitely, like now in this last sort of period of our relationship as it changes, the more I've leaned into self-care and talk about it and think about it and ask for what I need and, you know, claim my time. And really I was just thinking about this the other day, how my languaging has changed around my self-care. So before I would ask something like, so honey, is it okay if I go out with my friends on Saturday? Does that, you know, conflict with anything? Do you have anything planned? What's going on? And, you know, he always said yes. Like, of course, he totally loves me and honors me and wants me to have my life and all of that. And now I'm like, I made plans on Saturday night and I'm going to go out with the girls and we're doing this new moon circle and we're going to have some drinks. And he's like, hey, have fun. You know, so my languaging has changed. I'm not asking for permission. I'm claiming it. And it's not with a sense of, I don't care what you say and this is my time. It's more like, this is what I need. And of course, I'm always thinking about balancing my time with him. Both are important for me. So once I know we have our time together, I'm not going to ever discount that. I'm also taking what I need as my oxygen, as my nourishment. So I've learned over time that when I don't give that to myself, I am irritated and I am resentful and I do need my girl time and that's what I want. And so it definitely affects your relationship and your sexuality and your intimacy and your honesty and all of it. Mm-hmm.
Well, and when you talk about permission, I think that seems to be one huge reason why we don't take that time for ourselves, because we feel like we need someone else's permission to say, yeah, take this time for yourself. You deserve it. And I love that you really have gotten to a place of owning it. And I know that when we talked about scheduling this interview, that you were very clear about, you know, Thursdays are my day off. And that was a really great thing for me to have reflected back to me, because it helped me see where, you know, maybe it's important to really be really clear on those boundaries of this self-care piece. So that was a really, really cool example that you showed.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because this is what I always teach. Like, when we're doing our thing so clearly, we are inspiring people around us. And I've been inspired by women who I've made requests on their time. Like, I just emailed this really high, like, author woman. She's a teacher. And I'm like, I want to interview her. And so I reached out. I have no problem doing that. And her response was, you know, we're going through a move right now. I just wrote a book and it's just going to be one more thing on my plate. And I'd really love it to be something that I am excited about. So reach back out to me in 6 months. And I just thought, awesome. Yes, she's really embodying what she teaches. And she teaches in a similar space, just slightly different languaging. And I just thought, yeah, I love that. So the fact that you are inspired to reflect on your time, that's one of the major teachings for my clients when we get started is, let's look at your calendar. Do you have days set aside for nothing? Do you have days set aside where you don't book anything? And for full disclosure here, I used to take clients on Sundays and evenings and it was all over the map, and I was definitely present, and I definitely served, and I did all my things, but it was at the cost of pushing through and sacrificing that which I didn't want to sacrifice. So now I'm very mindful of it. If I'm traveling, which I do travel quite a bit to teach at retreats and speak, etc., I'm like, okay, well, I'm traveling a lot in March and April. I see it, so that June, July, and August has nothing, or family travel. And for me, I need to have that balance. And I really encourage those, like, well, Friday's my nothing day, or Saturday morning is my day where I'm just, laying in bed with a cup of tea and a book, and that's it. And that time's sacred. Nothing comes in the way except for a tree falling on my house, or whatever.
Okay. So the practical, logical side of me is wondering. So when you have your Thursday and it's your free day, and you have a deadline, or you feel like something really needs to get out, and how do you navigate that?
Well, I have my calendar is set in advance. I know when I'm launching. I did a surprise launch on myself recently where I'm like, I was so inspired in the middle of my planning my year-long course launch, which is opening soon. I was so inspired to do this course, the 66 Sacred Rituals, and it filled, and it's awesome, and it's going really well. But it was so illogical, and it didn't fit on my plan. Yeah. So there's two things. One is I get very mindful about creating my containers, my year container, my month containers, because I host a year-long program. It's almost like I did it to myself. Like, I need to be super organized. I know when my virtual retreats are. I know when my coaching calls are. I know when the group calls are. And then, but when I look at my calendar for the year, I put me first, my family first. Birthday celebrations, vacations, holidays, those go first. And then I layer my year-long program over that. I know exactly when we're going to Mexico. I know when I'm going to Costa Rica. Like, I know when those are happening. So then when someone like you, who's awesome and I want to interact with, messages me, I'm like, well, I could do Thursday. No, I'm in launch mode. I need my free time. I need to just walk around town, have a coffee, write in my journal. I need that processing time, or else I know that I go into this sort of panicky mode and pushing mode. Yes. And I don't like launching from there. So I give myself 6 weeks to launch. I have my days off. I have my video days. Like, I've come to understand the cost at such a deep level of not honoring that time that it's easier now, but it's taken me time to do that. Like I said, just very recently, I used to coach on Sundays. I used to coach in the mornings, days off. Oh, sure. Yeah, of course. I've got my whole day free on Thursday. When do you want to do that?
Yeah, I can fit
so you can totally relate, because especially as entrepreneurs, there's nobody telling us when to come in and when to leave. So we can do that. And I can easily bring my computer on Thursdays into town and just be somewhere sitting in my little hole. But it doesn't serve me. I'm not creating from a place that I want to create from, feeling nourished and present and playful versus, oh God, I got to do this right now.
So there's a big thing that I find that comes up for me, and I'm sure that this is rampant, especially with women, the guilt that comes up when you have children, a partner, family, friends, your parents, or people that are asking of your time. And then, you have maybe that conflict between, well, do I choose myself or do I choose them? And then that guilt of saying no comes up. So what do you say about that?
A couple of things. First is, when you're giving from that place of obligation, it's not true service. It really isn't. It doesn't feel good. It's really different. Now, that's different from, I am going to commit myself to, helping this person move, and I really want to, and maybe it's annoying at first, but I really want to, that's different. So, for example, if, like that Thursday, it's my day. And if someone then puts a request on my time and I'm feeling that guilt of, she really needs me. She needs me. The way I show up to that from that place of, I really know I want to be here in my day off, but I'm really going to help this woman here, my friend. And if I can let go of that truly and say, okay, you know what? I'm mindfully choosing to go help you in this place, and I'm going to be present, and I'm going to give you 100%, then that's a conscious choice I'm making. If I'm doing it from like, come on, you're late. I already said I was going to give you an hour. You're already late. Like, that's not serving her or me. That's one thing. The other thing, and from the lens of being a parent, I started this sort of mindful self-care journey when my son was around 2 or right before 2, actually, before he was even walking. And I remember when I started going out for walks by myself and runs where my husband would stay home with him and he'd be like, Mama, Mama, and I felt that like, oh God, he's crying. But I knew that at the end of the walk, when I came back, I would be able to, I felt like I took an inhale and an exhale. I felt my body was feeling good. And then I could just get on the floor and play with him. So we make that connection over time. So I just say, follow the guilt. It's okay. Number one, definitely follow the guilt. Like, you're going to feel good afterwards. You know you're doing something that's good for you. Just start noticing how that feels. And if you come back more grounded and present, then that's a gift to the people that you love. Mm-hmm, right? So I don't know. I'm having a relationship with guilt. I think we just need to stop using that term, or just learn to allow it to be a guidepost that you are doing something for yourself and it feels really good and it's okay. And I guarantee you, 2 minutes into your yoga or walk or run, it's going to fly out of your head and all of a sudden the endorphins will start and you'll feel really good. And you're like, yes, this is why I'm doing it. Mm-hmm. And then you come back, and that applies to really anything that you want to do for yourself. Because I totally get it. I still leave for Zumba Saturday mornings and I'm taking time away from my family, but I come back and I am so lit up, and then we can get to playing and being together instead of me feeling, I just need to exercise. I don't feel good. So there's definitely a trade-off, and I'm okay with it because I'm worth it, right? It's just that you have to make that promise to yourself at some point, mm-hmm. that the trade-off is more important, the trade-off of being present, playful, grounded versus resentful. And I remember a friend of mine said, not meeting your own needs builds resentment. And it really does. And we all get it as moms. We already give so much. We really do, right? And by choice, like no one's making us do it. So when it comes to that point of meeting your own need, yeah, for sure, you can play that martyr role and, I have to be here and no one else can cook that dinner like I can. Like, let your partner do it. It might be pasta and hot dogs, and that's okay. Like, just go do what you need to do and come back. So there's a real maturity in it too, like a little bit of ownership and maturity into understanding what you as a woman need to be the goddess, right? Mm-hmm. And not be quiet and quiet your own needs. Like, find your voice, speak it. Even if you're quiet, you don't have to yell. This is what I need. I'm taking the time. And at some point you just mature into that goddess and you step into it. You're like, this is what I need, mm-hmm. and trust it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's kind of like a muscle. The more you test those waters and you step in and you start practicing self-care, whatever that means for you, it's like, mm-hmm. you do get that positive benefit, and then you feel just how, like you were talking, how when you come back, you feel completely rejuvenated and you can really be a lot more effective, or you can just be more present, like you said.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes, I'm like, just stop it already. Like, it's going to feel good. Just do it, and that's like the whipping coach in me, and other times I feel compassion for the pain that women go through in really giving themselves permission. But you are totally right. It is a muscle. The more you do it, the easier that first step gets. It's like going to the gym, right? Mm-hmm. As soon as you put on your sneakers and head out the door, it's easy. It's the getting to the sneakers. That's the challenge. So it's the same thing. It's like building up that muscle, feeling good, knowing that every little step you take for yourself is filling a part of you that feels whole and then can show up in a way that feels non-resentful, but really abundant. And from giving from that place feels much different.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Totally. Yeah. When you have that feeling of being put upon and mm-hmm. feeling like you have to. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And saying yes and no is a big part of that. I know, that's sort of mm-hmm. that learning your own yeses and nos is a big part of that too.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Do you have some tips on how to say no gracefully to maybe those people that you've created these patterns with, where they kind of ask you because you always say yes?
Right. Ask the busy person because they're going to say yes because they're going to do it.
Yeah.
I have a few things that have really worked for me and worked for women that I've known over the years now, and clients and friends. Couple of things. One is you don't have to answer right away.
Mm-hmm.
People think they have to ask, and like they get asked a question and they have to answer it in that moment. And a lot of women don't have that filter really set firmly yet, so that they're going to say yes. Oh, can you volunteer here? We need someone here. Can you help clean up? Whatever. Oh, sure. Oh, what did I just say?
Yeah.
Right. So, and I know that feeling because I've had it many times.
Mm-hmm.
So the first tip is give yourself time. You know what? Let me think about that. Thank you so much for asking. Let me think about that. I'll get back to you tomorrow. If it's an emergency, you're going to go and do it, right? Like, hey, my son's bleeding. Can you give me a Band-Aid? Sure, here. That's not that, right? It's like that pull on your time. So when you asked me about my Thursday, I was very clear. Thank you so much for asking. Thursday doesn't work. Can we choose another day? So I thanked you. I honored your request, and I deferred it to a different day. I still want to do it. Or like that example I used with the woman who I asked, she's like, thank you so much. This doesn't work. Here's why. Or you don't even have to say why. It just doesn't work. And, we feel like we have to explain ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is, I think it's similar to what I just said. Thank you so much for thinking of me. It just doesn't work for me right now.
I like that.
And the silence at the end is actually important.
Yep.
Thank you so much. It just doesn't work right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then stop, because then we go into explanation mode, and then we feel like we have to justify ourselves more and more.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the other thing. And then what I used to do is I would have I would say yes, and then I would double book myself, which is a thing that people do a lot. So now I have one calendar. It's on my phone. If I don't have my phone with me, I do not commit to anything. Literally, like I have no idea. Can you email me and I'll take a look? Something like that. If it's a business request, or can you send that via email so I can see the date and check my calendar, and then be clear with my boundaries. Like I have a calendar that I stick to. No Thursdays, no Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
I do once in a while book something on a Sunday morning, very rarely, but if it's time intensive and I know why I'm doing it and it's a conscious choice, then I'm good with it. If it's a reactive, oh sure, Sunday, of course, yeah, that works. Oh, that didn't really work. So I would say, take a pause. You don't have to reply right away. Saying no, thank you, this doesn't work is a complete sentence, and be okay with that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is have a filter set up of knowing how to request. Oh, you know what? I'm not sure. I just don't know. Let me check. I'll get back to you. Just be that clear. Like, I don't know. Let me check. And then be okay with saying no,
mm-hmm.
or yes if it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think the other, another piece to that is asking for help.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you have people that ask you all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I know the ladies in my family, not to mention anyone in particular, but they have a really hard time asking and receiving help.
Yeah.
And so how do you help women get comfortable with that? Because, that can bring up a lot of vulnerability and be very, very uncomfortable. So how do you teach women to feel comfortable with asking for help?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. We are in this sort of, I've got this mentality. I can do all of it, and all of it will get done and perfectly and exactly how I want it. And, I think it comes down to experiencing that moment of overwhelm enough times to where you realize, and, we talk about this all the time. I mean, you've heard it said before that allowing someone to help you is a gift for them. So just think about how you feel when your friend, sister, mother, whoever asks you sincerely for help, and you have the time and space and the willingness to do it, you walk away feeling like a really good person.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I rock. I helped her. That's awesome. Or him, whoever. And that feeling makes us feel like we have meaning in this life, like we have some connection, like we're not alone, like we have served some small purpose. And I know I have friends who call me for very specific things, and constantly I'm like, I love it. I rock at this. I'm good at this. Like it gives me a sense of satisfaction. So I know it's sort of trite, but yeah, you are allowing someone to have that experience truly. And, you have to think about who are the people that I can trust and I can go to for help. And it doesn't make you look anything less than you are. It doesn't make you look like you're not capable or anything. It's just, we're not alone. We don't have to do anything alone. I love when my husband comes down, I'm like, can you clean the kitchen? Because I just cooked dinner and I'm feeling like there's, or I'm going to go take a bath. Can you finish cleaning? Asking for that support becomes like that, like you said earlier, that muscle. And I just invite people to get conscious of that feeling that we all know really well, that edge of overwhelm. Like something's got to give. Can someone else help me here or here? Like, can I ask my friend to watch my kids, or can I, just go buy dinner that's already cooked? So expanding your definition of what support means. Like, so for me in my life, I love taking my son to school every morning, especially when he was younger. We would do jump roping in the morning, and there was a real interaction in the morning. I can watch him. And now he's in 4th grade, and they basically just go in the door and they're done, and we don't see them anymore. So I'm okay with my really good friend and neighbor, who our sons are in the same class. She or her husband drive him 3 days a week. That gives me an hour and a half in the morning of me time. And I'm like, whoa. It's amazing. So I asked for help. At first, when she suggested that kind of help, I said, no, well, I can't. 3 days a week, that's too much. And I have to do it. It's my son. And oh my God. And I realized after a few weeks, I'm like, this feels so spacious. I feel so supported. I can sit down with my cup of coffee and a breakfast, and I can either read a book, write in my journal, do my morning pages. It feels so good. My son still feels loved because I'm so present with him in the morning while we're doing breakfast and everything, because I know he's going to school with, my friend, and I'm so patient and like, I know I'm going to be nourished. And so we're just super playful and easy in the morning. Before, I was very rushed, and I knew I had to go get him to school, come back and have a client. And it was just so rushed. And I felt like we had many arguments in the morning, and it pains me to think that, but it was. But now I feel like it's so easy and spacious. And then the other 2 days, I drive him and a few other friends, and it's fun. I love it. And those are my days off. So I'm like so relaxed, and I'm going to Pilates. And so I've designed that. That's a consciously designed week. It didn't happen by accident.
Right.
So I've asked for support in areas that I really need it, and I've offered support in return. And that feels so balanced and so awesome. And just try it. It's really good.
Well, and that gets me thinking about, this is something I know I've struggled with, is that often I question what's appropriate to ask for. It's like, well, I don't want to ask for too much. And then I think I end up just doing it myself. So how do you determine what's appropriate? Like what's too much? And you know what I mean?
Well, I think first of all, it depends on the relationship and the person. And, everyone doesn't have good boundaries. So some people sort of give much more than they want to. And you can sense that because they get overwhelmed every so often. They just hit rock bottom and they can't do anything. Right. So I would say a good bar of measurement is, if your friend came to you and asked you this, would you say yes? Or would you feel resentful? Would you feel like that's too much? And there's different friends for different things. And there's different, there's some, I have mastermind sisters that I can come and say, can you review my sales page? I'm like done looking at it. And I would do the same for them, versus someone that, personally, I would say, I'm painting my, room today. Could you come help? Would I do that for her? Yeah, of course. Okay. That's a great thing to ask. So would I do this for this person? Is it a relationship that can contain this request? Right. So, and then I think the other piece of that I want to, we're so on this online world right now, and everyone's a friend because you're online together. And so there's this sort of weird intimacy borderline that's crossed all the time, or we don't know, or, but I would say get conscious of nourishing those relationships, both online, I guess, but also in your life, that you do have a circle around you of support. It's a topic in my year-long program. What does the circle of support look like? Let's consciously create that. Is there a mentor? Is there someone who you mentor? Is there like sister friends? Is there sisters or brothers or parents? Like, who is your support circle? So when you do have a request, you're not thinking of like the million people out there. You're thinking of, okay, I really need help with my website. I'm not going to go pay for it, but I know that this friend has a technical back. And I've been that person for people, like we sat for 2 hours and went through copy and about us and all of that. And I was grateful to do it. I was willing to do it. It was just a joyful experience. It was on a day off. It was fine. So she felt comfortable requesting that of me. I've requested things of her. So, be conscious of creating relationships in your life, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to support each other. So if you don't feel like you have anyone to ask right now, how can you then cultivate some close relationships where you do feel supported and you do have those people you can go to? And then be mindful of, do you feel like you're giving too much so that you're feeling so put upon? Then why would you even do that to someone else? Mm-hmm. So you not having your own boundaries can create the opposite effect for you then reaching out. If I feel like I can do it all, and also people are asking things of me, I don't want people to feel this way, so I'm not going to ask them for anything. Mm-hmm. Versus like, I've got the time and space. I'm feeling generous. What you got for me? How can I help you? Even like going to the other side of it, like I can see my friend is overwhelmed and busy. How can I then offer support so that then I'm creating this relationship where then next time she notices me overwhelmed, she offers, can I do something for you? Can I help you in some way? That's a really beautiful cultivated friendship as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love taking that perspective of flipping it around and asking yourself, would I be comfortable asking for this from this person, mm-hmm. or vice versa? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just want to say one more thing on the support thing before we move on, is sometimes you have to pay for it. Like sometimes you just hire someone to clean your bathrooms. You just, you know what I mean? Like give yourself that permission too, because sometimes it's not for friends. It's for someone who's a professional. So I'm totally okay with going to get my car washed because I don't feel like standing outside and washing my car. Totally okay with hiring someone to come in and clean my house when I need to, right? So that's another version of support that makes us feel abundant and generous and also supported. So I just want to make sure that that's out there too.
Yeah. Well, and I think that ties into saying or having boundaries with yourself, because if you, for us female entrepreneurs, and we are like super women, we think we can do it all, or we think we need to do it all, that delegation piece and giving ourselves permission to hire people or ask for help. That was something I had to do just this morning. I had to look at, this last couple weeks, how I was of service. I was helping someone with their business. And so I pretty much had to put my stuff on the back burner, which I was fine. But then this week I was going to have a webinar and I was like, you know what? I'm feeling too pressed. And then so I made the choice to say no and let it go. Mm-hmm. But boy, oh boy, that has been a lesson, a learning for me, because in the past I would have just tried to shove it all in and get it all done.
Right.
So do you find that as well with women?
Yeah. And I do think the one big mistake that people make, especially women entrepreneurs, and I've worked with them for many years now, is trying to emulate someone else's idea of success, work schedule, products, courses, the way you are in your business. And that is the fastest way to feeling non-aligned with your purpose, because it doesn't feel good to take someone's template and put it over you. It's like trying to wear somebody's clothes. Like you could put it on, but does it flatter you? No. Does it feel good? No. So I would say there's such a gift in trusting your own pace and noticing the simple questions. When do I feel like I'm most creative during the day? What kind of ways do I like to communicate with people? Do I love to be on video? Do I not love to be on video? Is that just a limiting idea I have of myself that I want to try to break into? Or do I really just freaking hate video and I just want to record podcasts? Do I love to write and it just flows out of me, or does that feel like pulling my teeth? So that's maybe a place where I can hire some support. Do I love to work 3 solid days and then take 2 days off? That's me. That's what I do. I'm like a cheetah. That's my spirit animal, right? Like 60 miles an hour, create, and then get the heck away from the computer and go play that, or rest, or whatever. That's my schedule. I have clients who are like, they love working in the mornings, but they want to feel expansive and free and playful in the afternoons. So that's what they do. I have a client who watches movies all day on a Sunday, and that's her gift to herself, and no apologies. She used to have guilt around it, and now she realizes, she comes back on Monday and she's totally fueled. So what nourishes you? When are you in your flow? Start to notice that. Start to notice when you're like, oh, just one more thing because I gotta. In fact, there was just a conversation, and I can't remember what group it was. And I literally wanted to go and like hug her and take her out of her world and just have her be in my world for a while. Cause she's like, I don't know how anyone does this. You have a life, like you do stuff. I'm working 7 days a week, all night, all day, and da 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 da. I'm like, whew, just take a deep breath. Like, okay, so you're working 7 days a week, but let me ask you this. Are you making the money you want to make? Are you working with the people you want to work with? Are you feeling nourished by your work? Like all those questions. And she really didn't even answer them. She just kept sort of with the conversation. And I was like, you know what? When she's ready, she come to me. Like, I'm done here. My work is done. I've given some ideas. I've given her prompts, and that's the thing. But I think that's the biggest mistake that women make, is that we step out of 9 to 5. A lot of us step out of corporate, and we feel like we have to emulate that thing of like showing up at a certain time, leaving at a certain time. But we don't get into entrepreneurship to have another container around us. So it's our container to create. So just start noticing and asking yourself, what would my ideal schedule look like and feel like and be like? Do I love everything I'm doing in my work? Am I making the money I want to make? Because that's sort of a validation. Like, oh, people are coming to me and asking me for interviews and asking me for, to be a guest here. And someone's paying me money to be their coach. Wow, I think it's working. So if you've gone a long period of time without that sort of resonance happening, something's not working. Listen, you're not bad or wrong or not meant for entrepreneurship. You're just doing it in a way that doesn't feel good. So why would you keep doing it? Right? So let's recalibrate and pivot and see what needs to be refined or let go of or added. And I believe that if you have the calling to do entrepreneurship and, really claim that, I think there's a way to do it that feels good. I believe that. That's what I teach. So totally setting your own boundaries is a key element of actually enjoying what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point, that it almost seems counterintuitive, especially with a lot of the internet marketing that we see, all the social media. It's like you get all of these mixed messages, and most of them are, you need to do all this stuff, right?
You need to be like hustling and at the beach at the same time. That's the dream, right?
Oh my gosh. Right. We get into this pattern of trying to do it all, do more and more, try to fit within these ideas or structures. Then it doesn't work. So then we try harder.
Try harder. I must not be doing enough. I must do more.
I must be doing something wrong, and it's
do more of what's not working, right? Get it. You have to go through that, though, I think. Well, let me say that. I don't believe you have to be in the darkness to get to the light. I really am starting to not believe that as much anymore. Like, you have to have that massive moment where everything's so bleak and then you can find the light. I don't think so. I think we can do small daily divine nudge kind of corrections, and we can really start. And here's another piece is, we all expect to manifest this massive success or whatever our version of it is. And we're not listening to the daily divine nudges that our intuition is telling us. Clear out your closet, clean off your desk, go for a walk, call your friend, take some time off, start meditating, give up dairy, whatever it is, right? You're not listening to the small acts of creation. The big ones feel then too overwhelming and not reachable. You're creating a chasm of difference. So if you start creating an everyday life, creating your boundaries, creating your ideal schedule, creating your clear desk, then you start to trust your own self. And then you can move on to the bigger things.
Yeah, I love that. It's creating a container that works for you. It's like a specialized, unique, this is my framework for how, I want to live my life. And then everything else can fit accordingly.
Right. And then you're shining bright and your tribe is like, there you are. We've been waiting for you. It's like once you have that moment of, okay, hold on. Let me just pause for a second. I get it. Now, if I take time off and I really get still and I listen to my voice, I can see how it positively affects me when I'm, working and with my clients, and there's a real connection. And then the guilt drops away and the no's start to appear and the yeses are clear. And it really does shift everything. That's why my tagline is, you are your number one asset in life, business, and the bedroom, because they are all interconnected. There's not one without the other. You can't be super successful in business and not have a personal, satisfying, intimate life, even with yourself, right? You need to be in your body, not just in your head all the time. And a lot of women are walking around like heads disconnected from their bodies.
Right.
And that's no way to be. I want to feel good. I want to feel orgasmic in my business. I want to feel playful and present. And I've probably said those words many times, but those are my words. Like that's how I want to feel. And I'm very clear on that. So I know if something makes me feel opposite of that, then I've gone the wrong way. Come back.
Well, and I love when I learned to start kind of paring things away from my business and letting things go that I thought, oh, I have to do. I really started listening to those nudges and started letting things go. And then I found myself really focusing in on just offering 2 things. And I tell you, I felt so amazing. It made everything super clear. And like you say, you know what to say yes to, you know what to say no to, you know what's in alignment, and it just frees up so much space.
Exactly. That's it. You've got your sweet spot.
Yeah. I'm still working through it.
It's an ever-shifting sweet spot. It truly is, because, the more in-depth you get into your messaging and into, like you said, I've gone from doing many things to just doing those 2 things. And I do one thing now, like it's self-care, and it's all about my year-long program, and I love it. And yes, I do have some other things that support sort of the funnel that people come through, because I think the idea of someone going from not knowing me to spending a year with me, that's not going to work. So you need to get to know me a little bit. So I've got some other things, but everything focuses back to self-care, back to creating daily rituals, daily practices around your life, business, in the bedroom so you can show up. So it's very clear. If you want someone for self-care, you know who to call. You're not going to call me for anything else. That's right. It. So that's when it starts to get really clear. And that's scary for people to do. And I know it was scary for me to do. And I sort of had to take that leap, and whoosh, my wings appeared. Thank goodness.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So let's get really practical as we wrap up here. If someone has just 15 minutes, what's something they can do?
Yeah, I think the very first thing, if you do one thing every single day, it's do some sort of morning mindfulness self-care practice. I call it magic mornings. And there's 3 elements to it. Even if you have 3 minutes, you can totally do this. And it changes your day. I'm like money back guarantee. It will change your day, week, life, everything. So the first element is to do something for your mind. And the thing that I recommend is grabbing your journal and writing, whether it's mantras or I have no idea what to write, but I'm going to write for, 2 minutes. Start there, because it starts to unravel the stuff that you're carrying around in your head, and it starts to pour out onto the pages. So if you can commit to a practice give it like 7 days, give it 10 days. If you can't commit 15 minutes to yourself in the morning for yourself, we have other things to talk about. Yeah. Let's start there, right? Let's get mature, really truthful, honest here. You have 15 minutes to commit, because you're doing something else for 15 minutes during that day that's not serving you. So stop Facebook for 15 minutes and be mindful in the morning, right? So 1 minute of mindfulness, writing. The second thing is some sort of movement for your body. We are not walking heads. We are an entire person. So whether it's turning on a song and putting in your ear, I don't care if your kids are sleeping, put on earbuds and dance for one song. Just dance, close your eyes, and let your body feel what it's like to be tingly and refreshed and lit up. And if all you do is stretch or do 5 sun salutations, you can do that, in 2 minutes to 3 minutes. And the third thing to do is some sort of spiritual practice. I don't care what religion you are, even if it's sitting quietly and just noticing your breath for 3 minutes, that's a practice. That's a spiritual practice. If it's lighting a candle and praying, if it's, pulling a tarot card and seeing how it applies to your day, calling on your, I've been playing around with evoking this goddess called Yamanja. Anyway, it's just a fun spiritual practice, but, put out a crystal, I don't know, doodle for a few minutes with a meditative music playing, whatever your spiritual practice is. If you start your day like that, everything after that's going to feel completely different. I promise you, versus snoozing 3 times, throwing on your clothes, brushing your teeth, barely putting on any makeup or whatever. And, all I do is lipstick and mascara, but it makes a difference to me. And putting on, being a goddess, putting on a beautiful scarf or earrings, or, it really, really, really makes a difference. So that's what I would say. If you do one thing, create a mindfulness practice in the morning with those 3 elements and just start noticing how you show up differently that day.
Great. And then what if we find ourselves with an afternoon or a morning free? What would you suggest there?
Whatever the hell you want. What about that? Like,
yeah.
Don't ask me what I would do. What you want to do. What if it's, I used to love just walking into Barnes and Noble and like, okay, guide me, where am I supposed to go? And going to the magazines or going to a book or whatever, or go sit by the water and just ask yourself a question and just stay there long enough to hear the answer. Go, treat yourself to a beautiful lunch. I mean, what would feel good to you? Right? Read a book for no reason whatsoever besides that it's fun to read and it nourishes you. I just read this awesome book called Paris Letters by Janice McLeod, and I cried so many times. It was so awesome. I couldn't wait to get, it's a thin book. I found her on Facebook and I sent her a Facebook message. I'm like, I just want you to know I loved your book. I cried. I want to go to Paris. It was just awesome. And it made me feel so nourished. Did it have an effect on my business? I don't know. I quoted it during a virtual retreat I hosted on Saturday. So maybe, but it felt so good to me. And that's all I wanted to do. Like, I just wanted to go somewhere and read. So I'll put it back to yourself. What would you want to do if you had an afternoon free, and do that?
Mm-hmm. I vote for spa day.
Yes, I love that too. I go to spas all the time. In fact, I'm hosting a webinar. My final webinar for my year-long program happens at a spa hotel where I have everything laid out that I need. And then right afterwards, I go take myself out to lunch, and then I get a massage. And I'm a divine self-care mentor. That's what I do.
That's right. That's right. You got to practice what you preach.
That's right.
Awesome. And so I understand you have an amazing gift for the listeners. So tell us about that.
I do. And I really think it's very well aligned with the conversation we've been having today. So I'm glad that gift is, perfect. But it's called Awakening Your Inner Goddess. And what it really does is it allows you to have a conversation with her. Like, what would I want to do? And if I had this, day free, what would I do? And what are the kind of practices that fill me up, light me up, make me feel nourished and present and all of those things. So it's a worksheet. It's a PDF. It's a short ebook where you print it out, and it's a place for you to get to know how you would be in that way if you really took care of yourself. And then there's some cool printable, cuttable cards, like mantras you can put on your mirror, in your purse, on your desk, next to your computer, that really give you that sort of languaging every day with the proper mindset. Because, when you start to make changes, your inner gremlin will come out, which is the other PDF that I sometimes give out for my 21 days of self-care. But it's that part of you that comes out and tells you all the reasons why you shouldn't, couldn't, won't, all of those things, because that does happen as soon as you make a commitment, and that's okay. It's totally normal, totally natural. A really good book for that is The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks.
Yeah, that's an excellent book.
I love it. I've reread it, and all my clients have to read it before you go into my year-long program. It's like required reading. That one, and the other one is Essentialism, which is, what's the one thing? Do one thing, but better. Less, but better. That's the essentialism, which doesn't just feel better even saying it.
I like
it. I
it.
want to do less, but better.
Yeah. I need that book. I'm going to go get it.
So good. So good. Life-changing. I've listened to it every year since it's come out. It's really good.
So how can the listeners get in touch with you? Because I know that there are women out there, and possibly some men, who really want to step into doing some better self-care for themselves, and would love to chat with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So on Facebook, you just look up Elena Lipson, the Divine Self-Care Mentor, and I post all my stuff on there, and you can message me or anything on there. And then the best way to really, I have my video that talks about why I do this, why it's so important to me, is at divineselfcarecircle.com. Right on the front, it's on the, you'll find it. It's easy to find. Just go to the details. And there's a video there of me talking about why this is such an important topic to me as a woman, as a wife, as a daughter, my health really depended on me making these changes. So I would invite you to explore that for yourself, but that's where you can find me.
Perfect. And you have your program starting next year?
It's starting in January. The enrollment is open right now. And if you go anywhere near Elena Lipson on Facebook, you'll see all kinds of stuff. I'm doing a bunch of really beautiful webinars. So if you want any of those, I'm doing a demo of what it's even like to be in my group calls. So I really want people to step in and be ready to see what it's like, because it is kind of like a year-long program that's different. But I feel like when you start to make changes, you need that support over time, not just a 30-day course, or I have my 21-day, but that's where people just start. And then they want to know more. Yeah. So that's why I created this sort of longer experience where you have an instant circle of support. And of course you have me supporting you. And it's just a fun program that's unlike anything else that I've experienced, because it's all about you and coming back to you. Like, let's be narcissistic in a really good way for a year so that we can serve everything around us and the people we love in a better way. And that's really what it comes down to, right?
Awesome. Well, thanks, Elena, for joining me today. This was such a delightful conversation. And oh my gosh, you just gave so many wonderful tips. And I know that there are a lot of things that I'm going to start implementing. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Angela. It was totally fun. And if we helped a few people out there say no and start a morning practice, I am good with that.
Yes, and now I'd love for you, gorgeous goddess, to let us know, was there something that Elena or I shared that resonated with you? If so, we'd love to hear about it. So you can leave us a comment on today's show page at theawakenedgoddess.com. So get yourself over there and leave a comment right now. Did you enjoy this episode? If so, subscribe to this show and please share it with all of your friends. If you want even more incredible resources, join the Awakened Goddess community to get Elena's gift and bonus content from the show. Until next time, goodbye everyone! Thank you for listening to this episode of the Awakened Goddess Show. I hope you enjoyed today's guest and got something you can start using in your life right away. For more spiritual insights and to listen to more episodes, subscribe to The Awakened Goddess Show at theawakenedgoddess.com and discover wisdom that'll change your life.